What's up? J Street Moto here, and welcome back to the channel. So if you watched the previous video, which was basically the first moto vlog I've ever done, that happened the morning that I was going out to meet up with these guys. So what's going on today is there's a bunch of us meeting. Well, you can see us there. This is probably 2/3 of the crew that showed up for breakfast. There's a bunch of us meeting in Huntersville, and then we're all going to ride as a group down to Charlotte, to this area called Camp North End, for basically a classic car and motorcycle show called Congregation that's happened for the past, I don't know, I think this was maybe the 5th one they've done. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. David and I happen to know a guy. It's a friend of David and his wife, and I've met him and his wife through them, that had a car actually in the show. So I got video of that car, and then I kind of did just a sweep of the whole room. So you can see that later in this video. The location was awesome for a classic car show, because essentially what you're talking about is a big old factory that's been emptied out, and they just bring the cars and bikes in and set them out wherever with vendors and such. So I never did count. I think there was somewhere between 25 and 30 bikes that all kind of met up and rolled out to this place together. And to put things in perspective, it's about a 40-minute ride to go from where we're at down there. So having that large of a group going on, public roads down to a show, and then kind of all pulling in and parking somewhat together is pretty cool. But yeah, so that's what's happening today. We are currently in downtown Huntersville, navigating that area, trying to get to the main road that we're going to use to get into Charlotte. Today's pretty cool. For those of you that watched the video of Throttle Thursday, the person right in front of me is Bree, and she's the one that walked around her Sportster 1200 at Throttle Thursday with us. She's getting ready to turn around here in a second and flash me the 2 fingers, I think. Yeah, there she goes. But yeah, so she's riding with us. If you look, like 2 bikes forward on the left, there's David. That's where he ended up in the line. I mean, there's just a big, massive pack of us here. And I'd be interested to note in the comments, guys that ride in large groups, how often do you do that kind of thing? Some of the other people that are along for the ride on this day are Chris from Legacy Moto. He's in this pack with us. His fiance Ellen, who is EKG_7 on Instagram, she's riding along with us. Adam from Foundation Moto is in this pack, as well as John from Murto Made Distilleries. So there's a bunch of us that this kind of happened in a way that was, well, I mean, it's when you ride and you meet people, I think it's just sort of organically kind of happens that, someone will be like, hey dude, are you going to this thing? If you are, there's a couple of us meeting over at this location in Huntersville and having breakfast, and then we're going to ride over together. And that just kind of balloons up. It was really kind of funny because Murto is the one that made reservations for breakfast this morning. And when he did it, when he originally called the place that we were at, and where we were eating, by the way, I'll plug them, the Neighborhood Cafe in downtown Huntersville. Used to be Cafe 100. It closed, and the people that bought it rehired all the staff, kitchen and wait staff, as much as they could, and they kept the menu the exact same because it had been kind of a, what's the word for it? Just a kind of a mainstay in the Huntersville area for several years. And so it got reopened, and when it reopened, it basically reopened exactly the way it was when it closed. So John had contacted them about making a reservation on the patio, and I think when he made the reservation, he made it for 8 people. And I want to say we ended up ultimately having something like 30 people that showed up for breakfast. So, because some of these guys are they're riding 2-up, so they've got their wives or girlfriends with them. So yeah, it just kind of organically blew up, which is, normally what happens. At least it's my experience that happens. A couple of guys are like, hey, let's get together and ride, and then it ends up turning into 10, 15, 20, 30 people riding together. So yeah, we're heading out there. I had never been to this car show before. I've been to several car shows, but I'd never been to this car show. And so it was kind of interesting to me. I was a little bit, I was excited about going to it because I wanted to check out, well, what's this all about? And I knew the area or the part of town we were going to be in and where the car show was, and the bike show really is just a really cool vibe in the Charlotte area. So, and they really couldn't have picked a better space to have it in. But yeah, so that's what's happening. You're just along for the ride, so enjoy it. So, as is usually the case with large group rides, you end up hitting an intersection and all of you can't make it through for whatever reason. And so that was what just happened, and we ended up connecting back up at the next red light, or at least I'd say probably 80% of us ended up reconnecting together at the next red light. So yeah, it's just the nature of what happens when you're riding with a large group of people. Fortunately, everybody kind of knows where they're going, or at least you should know where you're going. Even if you're, not leading, you should still have some idea of the route you're taking and where you're going in case something like that happens. So in this case, it was pretty easy for us because it was basically a straight shot. Once we made that left turn in Huntersville, we were going to stay straight on that road all the way until we turned left into Camp North End, because it was basically on the same road. So it ended up, working out okay. We're getting ready to be where we're at, and I'm going to be videoing the car that's owned by the guy that David and I know. And so this is probably one of the most beautiful GTOs I've ever seen that has been restored. Because this guy, he spent years putting this car back together and making it back the way it was when it rolled off the showroom floor. And it is just absolutely gorgeous. It's also a screamer. The freaking car hauls ass. And the first time I ever saw this car was actually at, I think it was David and his wife's anniversary party. I want to say that's the first time I saw this car. And I was just like, man, this thing is freaking beautiful. Met the guy that owned it. Took a video of it. I walked around it. I slowed that way down so you guys could, get an idea what the car looked like. One of the cool things that happened while we were at this event, there was a Harley booth that was there that had like engines with cutouts and stuff so you could see how the motors worked, etc. And there was a lot of, product to buy. They had stuff for sale. And David and I are kind of looking around and we're going, man, this stuff doesn't look like it's by a local dealer. It looks like doesn't look like a local dealer set up a booth here. It looks like this is Harley corporate, specifically the museum. Because we were seeing a bunch of stuff that we saw when we were in Milwaukee at the Harley Davidson Museum when we were on our cross-country trip. And sure enough, we ended up meeting the one of the public relations managers for Harley Davidson corporate was there. He walked up to us, talked to us, introduced himself, ended up giving us his business card, and you know, we had a good meeting with him. So that was pretty cool. In any case, this is the last section of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content, and click the notification bell and know when, so that you know when new content comes out. And well, as always, ride safe.